It's a standard day in Gensokyo. On the Hakone Shrine grounds, our protagonist Sumireko Usami is spending her day entertaining Reimu's monkey brain with cat pics and busting caps into some local birds. It's here that Sumireko is woken up into SMTF, and instead of throwing hands with giant beast men and strapped up teachers, it's summer break. Now she gets to hang out in Gensokyo all summer long and not get chewed out by teachers. For those who don't know who Sumireko is, she's just a high school girl. The special thing about her is that she can travel to and from Gensokyo in her dreams, which is why she got booted out to SMTF by being woken up, and why she can now spend as much time in Gensokyo as she pleases by absolutely fucking her sleep schedule. But the next time she enters Gensokyo, there's now a big fuck-off mystery tower outside the Hakone Shrine. No one knows what it is or why it's there. Additionally, a bunch of hostile copies of all your favorite Touhou girls are running around Gensokyo called sleepers, because they for some reason don't talk. Mid-conversation, Sumireko downloads definitely not malware.exe on her not comp that allows her to take control and battle with these sleepers, in addition to a message telling Sumireko to find the closest nuclear reactor and take a pic of it. Now you're given control of Sumireko proper to go crawl through dungeons for the next 30 hours until you hit the final boss, at which point you'll get the rest of the story. Very SMT. Thank you to my supporters. If you liked the video, consider subscribing or even joining the Patreon. Link on screen and in the description. If you do, you'll be thanked in the videos, be able to watch each video a week early, as well as gain access to bonus videos. Though there be very little story in this game, something that any SMT vet should be accustomed to, there are still many moments with Sumireko talking to various characters throughout Gensokyo, and that shit is genuinely very funny. When you enter the first real dungeon, you're taken to Satori and you're supposed to ask her various questions to get brought up to speed to the sleeper situation, like what the hell they even are to begin with. The aspect of the sleepers is hostility exclusively towards Sumireko is brought up, to which Satori explains that the sleepers actually act very closely to the person they're based off of. So she believes that no one just likes Sumireko. That's funny as fuck. No friend having ass loser. And when you ask Satori for even a crumb of help, all you get is a flat no. Satori doesn't fucking like you. That text box gave me a good laugh. But it's not just Satori that this type of dialogue has had. One thing to keep in mind is that Sumireko is a cringe teen. That's just part of who she is, and that aspect is super on point during a lot of encounters in this game. Like, you'll beat Aya the fuck down and one of the options you're given afterwards is skill issue. Or you'll walk up to Tenchi and be like, your hat looks stupid. Sumireko is given dialogue choices here and there that really make her feel like a modern teen who just says stupid shit. It's great. But after your conversation with Satori, it's now time for legally distinct Megaten. Artificial Dream in Arcadia is aesthetically going for the classic style Megaten games. That first person dungeon crawling type shit. The opening of the game references the start of SMTF, but it's not just that screen it bars when not in combat. It also bars the basic UI design as well as the backgrounds of the fights being on the tile you are, going for the seamless transition in the battle. As for what the battle system is like, it's fucking Megaten. Pre-turn press Megaten, but it is hard and fast Megaten. Just using different words to not be in legal troubles. Can't call them demons, they're sleepers. Can't call ice Bufu, gotta call it Akala now. And it's not negotiating, it's now hijacking. If you've ever played a Megaten game before, you'll feel right at home here. It's fast, challenging, and as addictive to play as a Megaten. Even if you don't know what the fuck a Touhou is and you're only looking into this game because you're a Megaten fan and heard about this game, it's as if there was a modern new release in the classic Megaten style. It's real fucking good, especially with the way that Touhou was blended into the Megaten structure. First and foremost, Touhou has a massive cast of characters. And that massive cast of characters was used to fill out the compendium, giving you an entirely new roster of quote-unquote demons to use. For a Touhou fan, this is amazing because literally everyone is in this game, meaning you can use your favorite characters, and for someone not into Touhou, there's now a new feeling of discovery going through this game. It's no longer a, yeah, I'm level 40s, where's Titania? And now you've got to find out new equivalents. Then yeah, the compendium is fucking huge. There's 167 sleepers in the game to play around with. That's a full-ass game right there. Touhou is known as a shmup series. I feel like if you know about Touhou, you might be familiar with it as that series where the Shrine Maiden goes pew pew, or that series with an insane amount of porn. Either way, a lot of fan games try to integrate shmup mechanics into their games in one way or another, and the way that Artificial Dream does it is by replacing negotiation with a quick shmup minigame. If you're here exclusively for Megaten and don't fuck with shmups, don't worry, there's an option in the game to change it back to a more Megaten style negotiation. But for those that do fuck with it, and you really should fuck with it, you got a bar in the middle of the screen that charges up while you do things in combat or explore around. You can use this SP gauge for various things. One such is to hijack a sleeper and claim it as your own. Hijacking is very similar to the way that Nier Automata does its hacking. It's a very short minigame, but of a shmup section, and if you succeed, then the sleeper is yours. The hijacking is different per character and uses a pattern that that character uses at one point in the games. Also, if you find that a pattern is challenging, you can damage the sleeper and hijacking them will become easier. Think of that SP gauge like the Makatsuhi gauge in SMT5. Charges up and drains in similar ways. You can use attacks that utilize the SP gauge, but the only real difference between that and Makatsuhi is the need for SP to hijack. That's about it. Despite the fact that stylistically, Artificial Dream is going for a Megaten of old, it actually takes a lot of cues and design philosophy from SMT5. Most importantly, Sumireko can actually use fucking magic. Thank fuck for that. I wouldn't want this game to be too inspired by classic Megaten. But specifically drawing from SMT5, Artificial Dream gives you the ability to completely customize your team and gives you full creative control over not just Sumireko, but also your sleepers. Hey, if you want to know more about how SMT5 did this specifically, I made a video on that shit too. There's an unspoken rule or expectation or whatever when it comes to Touhou fan games with ensemble casts that, if they're in the game, then you can use any character from the second you get them until the point you hit credits and they remain viable to use. This design philosophy is antithetical to the way classic Megaten is made. Demon ran its course, fuse it up. And of course you could treat Artificial Dream in this way if you wanted to, but you can also carry any sleeper with you to the end of the game just like you can in SMT5. In fact, it's even easier to do in Artificial Dream than in SMT5. During my playthrough, I wanted to test how easy and how viable it was to carry a sleeper through the entire game, so I chose Moko, my beloved. The second I met the level requirements to get her, I snatched her up and she never left my side. In SMT5, this was achieved through both essences and grimoires to maintain your demons' skills and levels. But in Artificial Dream, the sleeper itself is also both essence and a grimoire. When you're at the fusion terminal and your deck of girls is too full, you can sacrifice them to any other sleeper and feed them experience. If Moko be lagging, feed her a couple girls and she's back up to speed. It's really fucking easy to level up sleepers this way. In SMT5, unless you bought DLC, it's a lot more difficult to get grimoires for free levels. But in Artificial Dream, all you need is spare sleepers. Go and hijack or buy a spare sleeper, or 2 or 20, and feed that bitch. Eventually money no longer becomes a problem and it's really easy to bring anyone up to level 99 just by buying and sacrificing the same sleeper over and over again. Tedious, but it is the quickest method. The other way to use your spare sleepers is the skill transfer. Take one sleeper, give their skills a little bit of a yoink and shove it onto another sleeper. Sleepers don't actually learn skills, so what they get by default is what they're gonna have unless you do this. And because it's as easy as just hijacking or buying whatever sleeper you need, it's really easy to completely build your party's skills to whatever the fuck you want. Easier than in SMT5 for sure, because there's some really hard to get essences or you only get one per playthrough, so you've got to be a lot more selective with how you use those. But not here. These bitches disposable. Just get a new one. And underneath the skill transfer option is the affinity transfer option. Both of these can be used to improve Sumireko by either giving her new skills or changing her affinities to better take on whatever situation you need to deal with. You're also free to respec Sumireko stats whenever you want after reaching Myoden Temple, which is relatively early on in the playthrough. If you want to experiment at any point with a certain build or change up how you play, it's really fucking easy to do so in this game and I love that about it. But you're gonna need some fucking cash to do all this. Like, a lot of money. No, seriously, between the best equipment you can buy in this game and the amount of money you'll need to build the best team against the Superboss of this game, you're gonna need a fuck ton of money. How do you get all this? Let's go gambling! Halfway climbing up the Yokai Mountain, you'll come across the Komakusa Gambling Den. This place is the best and quickest way to get money in this game because it offers 3 games you can play for some cold, hard cash. There's 3 options here. Odds or evens, pachinko, and cups. Odds or evens is slow as shit and luck based, who gives a fuck, don't bother with this. Pachinko is slow as shit and luck based, who gives a fuck, don't bother with this. Cups is the real shit. If you can follow the cups naturally, that's great. That'll just make this easier, of course. But you don't need to be that good at following the cups because there's actually 2 tricks to this minigame. The first trick is that the cup with the ball always moves. So even if you lose track of which cup has the ball, then so long as you know which 2 cups moved last, then you've got at worst a 50-50 shot of guessing right. The other trick is that the cup with the ball always moves into the foreground, and the cup without the ball moves into the background. So even if you lose track of the ball, you can just see which cup moves into the foreground and voila, you found your missing ball. So at worst, you've got a coin flip to win, and at best, a guarantee if you can follow the cups. It's not even gambling at this point. But man, do you really need to be able to fucking bet a higher amount? As I've said, you need a hell of a lot of liquid on you for the endgame. I'm talking the hundreds of thousands or even the millions. And yet, you can only bet 3,000 at a time. The fuck is this shit? It's gonna take forever, and it certainly does. See, I get limiting the amount that you can bet when you first come across the Komakusa Gambling Den, because otherwise, it can make it even easier to break the economy in this game. I mean, it's already easy with enough patience, but still easier. It would have been nice if after reaching the post-game, if additional amounts that you can bet were unlocked. Like, it'd be damn nice if I could bet 10k or even higher to expedite this process. But nah, it's gonna be tedious, man. The moment-to-moment dungeon crawling in Artificial Dream is pretty solid. Movement is smooth and doesn't feel slow, and the enemy encounter rate feels pretty good. It's not extremely high to the point of feeling annoying. You can get a good several steps in before you're hit with an encounter. And each dungeon has the super optional goal of filling in every tile on the map. It's not even an achievement to do this, that shit surprised me. You'd have thought that there'd be an achievement to fill in every map, but no. But if you do decide to fill in the maps, you get bonus money which comes in real handy in the early game until you hit Komakusa. The game is split up into 4 major sections: early game, mid game, late game, and post game. These stages are marked by 2 things: the amount of freedom you have in moving around the overworld, and also a change in battle music. The early game is the most linear section of the game. You go to a dungeon, you clear that shit, then you go to another dungeon. Lather, rinse, repeat. The dungeons are sequential and are designed to introduce you to various mechanics to get you used to the feel of the game. Real quick, I'm not going to talk about every dungeon in the game. Not every dungeon has something noteworthy going on in it. Some dungeons are just born to be your standard ass generic cave. But most dungeons are really fun to go through and have a gimmick that makes most dungeons feel unique and memorable. Genuinely, a lot of fun in this game is entering a new dungeon and figuring out what it's got going on. The first real dungeon you're thrown into is the Palace of the Earth Spirits. This is your tutorial dungeon, but despite being a tutorial, it is not here to hold your hand. You can easily get fucked up. This is an S&T game, remember? The Palace is here to introduce you to the major tile gimmicks you'll encounter later with dungeons focused on them. You've got small sections of poison, battery drain, and darkness and SP drain. The battery drain section is the least worst later on. It's only problem now while you're a broke bitch. Coming straight out of the Palace of the Earth Spirits is the Remains of Blazing Hell. It's a straightforward dungeon, but once you clear it, there's a bonus post-dungeon area that sucks fucking balls. If you care about filling in the map, come back later with the Explorer Grimoire, which is an option you can unlock that fills in the map in a 3x3 area rather than just the tile you're on. Why do I recommend this? Teleporter bullshit. Most of the time, I hate teleporter dungeons. But here, there's a pretty fun trick to how they work, so you can figure out the right teleporter without trial and error. But trying to get a map clear means the tedious as hell task of taking each and every teleporter one by one. It sucks to do. The Dreamer's Monolith is a dungeon that you've only got access to the first floor for now. You unlock more floors as you do more shit in the game, and you can either come back to the Monolith as you unlock floors, or just do it in one big burst at the end. The Monolith is also non-Euclidean, so walls loop over to the other side. It's a neat dungeon. Scarlet Devil Mansion is your introduction to field enemies. There's 2 types in this game, but the type here is the type that just teleports you back to the start. Sakuya is on the map, and she can either move in fixed patterns or chase you down, so don't get touched by Sakuya. Or do. I wish Sakuya would touch me, but she isn't real. Ante would have been otherwise an unnoteworthy and straightforward dungeon if it weren't for wife. This is when I get my game-long sleeper, Moko. There's also a side quest with a real Moko where you go around Ante writing graffiti about how Kaguya's a bitch. The early game is then capped off with both the Forest of Magic as well as Muenzika, which both share the same gimmick, Poison. Poison isn't really all that threatening, as it is more just annoying to deal with and can be a resource drain, especially early game when you either don't have much items or don't have much MP. But absolutely do the 3 fairy side quest in Muenzika for that Explorer Grimoire I mentioned earlier. That shit makes clearing dungeons way faster. Do yourself a favor and just turn it on when you get it. And with a battle music change, you've entered the mid-game. The flag that signals the start of this phase of the game is when you unlock the ability to swim, which starts to open the game. You're now free to tackle the next dungeons in whatever order you want, and can even take on some of the higher level dungeons if you're feeling like you can take it. But no matter what you do, make sure to hit up Genbu Ravine first and foremost. It's not a big dungeon, but it does have Nitori. You should periodically visit her as you fill up your database for database summoning discounts. Also, she's tied to getting the good ending requirements after hitting a certain database milestone. The first dungeon I decided to go to was the first one I saw, that being the ruined Western Mansion. It's a simple dungeon, but I really like the psychedelic music going on here. Strong atmosphere, I like the area. After that, I'd recommend going up Yokai Mountain until at least unlocking access to Komakusa. I'd say that mid-game in general has some of my favorite dungeons aesthetically. Up on Yokai Mountain, you'll go through the Rainbow Dragon Cave, which is a nice visual twist on the other cave-based spelunkers by having the zone gradually shift between hues, true to its rainbow name. The next dungeon I went through after that was the Dream World, which had see-through walls. Despite the walls being see-through, that shit doesn't actually give you as much of an advantage as you'd think. Even if there's treasure behind a wall, you can't actually see it. Whereas you went through former Hell in the early game, now you're going through current Hell. Makes me wonder if whenever Sumireko is told go to Hell, she can respond with, yeah, Hell is great music, but it's terrible for my phone battery. Though at this point, your money should be solved and it shouldn't be an issue buying batteries. Coming out of Hell spits you right into the animal realm. If you've played Enetrian Odyssey, then you'd understand when I tell you that the gimmick here is FOEs. Remember how in the Scarlet Devil Mansion, if you touched a field enemy, it just sent you back to the start? That shit is no longer. Get ready to throw the fuck down whenever you see one from here on in the game. But after the animal realm comes one of my favorite areas aesthetically. The Primate's Spirit Garden is so visually distinct from everywhere else in the game, being so futuristic and sci-fi looking. In addition, it's really cool how a chromatic aberration effect was achieved with just pixels. It's a really effective application to get that visual effect. And of course, one of the best area tracks in the game plays in this dungeon. Fucking fantastic. The late game is marked by yet another battle music change in addition to unlocking the ability to fly. At this point you could go get the bad ending if you haven't met the database requirements and talk to Nitori, or you can fly around and clear out the remaining dungeons and boss fights around the map. Some of them are a bit hidden and out of the way, while others are more obvious, like the massive field of sunflowers leading into the Garden of the Sun. At this point it truly is non-linear, as you can take on whatever dungeons you want in whatever order. I'm not going to talk about every dungeon in this stage of the game, but I will suggest that you go through the Tanuki Forest to find Mamizo's hidden shop there. The gear? Fuck you, expensive. You're not going to be in the tax bracket to be able to afford that shit, but if you wanted to grind it out, and if you're thinking of taking on the post-game, which I'd recommend you do grind it out at some point before then, the equipment makes life a lot easier. It doesn't trivialize the game, just gives you a bit more breathing room. But after this stage, you climb up the Dreamer's Monolith, fight the final boss, and unlock the post-game. Go to the H.E.L.P Shrine and talk to Reimu about going through the cave around back and prepare for motherfucking Makai. With one last battle music change, get ready for pure dungeon crawling from here on. Clearing one dungeon just spits you out into the next with very little breaks given to you. It's a genuine challenge, and even then, there's one last really cool gimmick up this game's sleeve in Pandemonium that I won't spoil. Trust me, you'll enjoy the fun surprise. To not make this section of the game a complete and total bitch, stock the fuck up on memory balls and magic fabrics. Memory balls allow you to place your own waypoints that you can teleport back to, and magic fabrics teleport you to safety to heal up and save. Artificial Dream is a dungeon crawler, so it's a good thing that this game has both a variety of dungeons and both gimmicks and aesthetics. If this game had ass dungeons, then the game would be fucking ass. But as you've just heard, I've got generally positive things to say about most of the dungeons in this game, save for an exception or two, but those are not the rule. TLDW, the dungeon crawling in this game is some good dungeon crawling, which you'd fucking want in a fucking dungeon crawler. But after all that crawling, you're presented with one last challenge. Shinki. Shinki is for fucking real. She will wreck your shit if you go in unprepared, and even if you think you're prepared, you're probably not, and will still wreck your shit. This bitch built different. Here's a fun fact that I learned while playing through Shinki's fight. I learned that you can critically hit your next heal. This does two things. The first being that it does actually increase the amount you heal by. But here's the thing, if you get critical hit by an enemy, that shit drains your SP gauge, right? As it turns out, that critical doesn't have to be given by the enemy. Any crit you receive, healing included, kills your SP gauge. This is made even worse since the strategy I used is SP dependent. It's honestly really funny that you can heal yourself to a game over, but yeah, critical healing is a run killer, and unless somewhere down the line the game patches that, just never use Yuta Samira on your dedicated healer. Fucking never. On that note, there have been updates made to the game post-launch that have added in skills that made the Shinki fight more manageable. Amps, for example, apply effects to various attack magics. I'd recommend using Yomi skills because Yomi Amp gives you MP, which is great for longevity. Also fantastic for longevity is HP and MP springs. Definitely put that on everyone. And the previously mentioned Yuta Samira, which not only crits, but also ignores resistances, allowing you to bypass Shinki's gimmick of being only ever susceptible to a single attack type. Here's some advice to win the fight. Arcadia's unique skill is Heaven and Hell, which flips buffs and debuffs for both the party and the enemy. Since Paradise Lost fully buffs Shinki and fully debuffs you, I think you can put 2 and 2 together and realize how strong it is. Issue is, Arcadia is slow as hell and you need to fuse her into a faster sleeper than Shinki so you can act before her. No, you can't skill transfer unique skills. That's New Game Plus only. But you can transfer it through fusions. I ended up putting Heaven and Hell on Moko because it turns out that she's faster than Shinki. Congrats! You fucked up Shinki and have cleared the whole game. But there's also New Game Plus, which adds in a built-in randomizer, which is damn cool. I only fucked around with it for a couple minutes, but it completely changes up the enemy encounters in the game, what skills sleepers will have, and even the bullet patterns when you hijack. I found a Kasen with endgame skills in the first dungeon. She was of course scaled down level-wise to that point, but that shit is wild, and I will absolutely be doing a run of this at some point down the line. What surprised me the most about Artificial Dream and Arcadia is how much of a real-ass game it was. This shit took me 40 hours to beat. That's straight up a Megaten-sized, Megaten-length, and Megaten-girth game. The enemy encounters and boss fights felt straight out of a Megaten. The compendium was not slacking in the slightest, and it posed Megaten difficulty too. This game is for fucking real. I can't believe that this game is only $10. That might as well be fucking theft when it goes on sale. For anyone, be they a Touhou fan, a Megaten fan, or someone who just really likes solid JRPGs, I couldn't recommend this game more.